Welcome to the Sacred Thread podcast, where we explore spirituality, psychology, and the deeper questions of what it means to be human. I'm your host, Winston Janis. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sacred Thread podcast. I'm here with a special guest, another old friend of mine. We have a long history, Dave Roper. It's so good to be with you here today. It's been a long time since we've connected, but I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk with you. I've been seeing on social media, you've been working on some new things, and so Dave Roper is a human design life coach. And so I wanted to start out, to ask, because I'm just going to be upfront. Human design is kind of a brand new thing for me. Until I came across your content online, I'd never heard of it. So I'm total beginner. I did a little bit of Googling kind of thing. But I'm very curious to hear more, what it is and how you first came across it, and what it's been doing for you. So yeah, thanks for being here on the podcast.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Winston. Thank you for asking. Human design is something I fell in love with about 3 years ago or so, and turning 50 was a transitional time in my life, and I'd been living a pretty focused life on living the Christian life and pouring my life into other people. And about 50, Spirit tells me that I have it's time for me to stop focusing so much on others. How did he put it? How did I hear it? It was the last 50 were for others, the next 50 are for me. And kind of threw me, didn't know what it meant, kind of excited me. But it was the beginning of trying to understand who I am. And I knew what I was doing and trying to be as a Christian, but I still was pretty frustrated with life and still always felt like I need to do more. I got to do more. And so shortly after I turned 50, I met with a friend who she had knew about human design and was working with it. And she was doing some therapy and stuff with people using human design and counseling. And she did a session with me, didn't really get into the whole human design, just kind of used it to get to know kind of who I am, and shared some things with me. So that was my introduction to it. And then I met with a friend from North Carolina who my wife and I sat with them, and she was familiar with it, and she kind of introduced us deeper to it. And then finally, my wife and I came home and we we Googled human design, and we put our information in. It requires your birthday, birth time, and birthplace. And it just spits out all this information about yourself. And you start reading it, and it gives you a strategy and an authority to start making decisions. It's kind of an experiment. I call it an experiment because it's not a belief system. It's a tool, and it's been scientifically proven to be consistent in I think I don't know if 250 million different dates have been put into the system, and it's consistent in its output in percentages of people and the percentages of humanity having certain types, energy types. And so as I jumped in and started studying, I just kept confirming itself to the point where I told my wife one day, 2.5 years ago, sitting in the corner having tea, I said, honey, I'm in. I've got to, I'm going to trust this. I'm going to experiment with it. And I'm only going to do what lights me up. I'm only going to do what lights me up, and I'm not going to go out and try to initiate to do anything. And this is what my strategy is, to wait for things to come to me. And my authority is my gut to respond to. I'm a generator. And so in the system, I'm a generator. And so I'm kind of radical when I start stuff. And so I said, if we lose the house, I don't care. I'm not looking for work. I'm just going to wait for opportunities to come to me, because that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
And then that fits the whole Christian. And that's another thing about this is I started seeing the link between Christianity and what Jesus was trying to bring us, and what human design is teaching is the science of how spirit can move you if we'll surrender and let it. But we get in our heads and we jump ahead and we try to figure things out, and we have a really hard time waiting. And this, scripture says, wait on the Lord, he'll strengthen your heart. It's like that has a whole different meaning now to me since I human design. It's literally learning to wait for opportunity to come to you. And how do I know? It's the spirit, or God has brought me some, the universe, God, however we want to word it,
Right.
has brought me something. I go, uh-huh. And I have this energy rise up from my gut, and it wants to go towards it. And it lights me up. And it's like, oh, I felt that before. But so often I got in my head, well, that'd be a good thing to do. Somebody needs help, I go do that. So, oh, I should, I have to, I'm supposed to. That language is the mind running us, trying to get validation. And so human design gives you pull it up, it gives you this information about your type, your energy type, your profile, so we could get into that, your strategy and your authority. And then it has your incarnation cross. And when I work with people, you'll have your chart in front of you at some point, and I will be able to walk you through it and help you understand what your unique energy type is.
Interesting.
And so it's a combination. It uses the I Ching, it uses the Kabbalah, it uses, there's, I'm drawing a blank, quantum physics,
Astrology.
It brings in all these different modalities or these ancient wisdoms, and then they use quantum physics to the idea is when you're born, the stars and everything's in one place. It's like a snapshot that imprints you with a unique design that you are specifically here to bring. And coming from a Christian tradition, and me trying, because there's so many Christian people around that I love, and I'm part of that world. How do I bring this thing I love to Christians? Because it's such a powerful tool. And that verse, the heavens declare the glory of God. And who are we? We're the glory of God. And it's declaring to us our unique expression. Everything wants to point us into the genius each one of us is here to bring forth.
Yeah.
But we've been so deeply conditioned to be homogenized into a system where we give our identity away. We give our uniqueness away. And human design is a tool to bring you back to your unique purpose, your unique design. And it gives you a signature of when you're out of alignment, this is what you will feel. And when you're in alignment, and each type has a different type. My wife is a projector, 20% of the population. I'm a generator. I'm 75% of the population. And then there's these little smaller ones, manifestors, who are 8% of the population, and then reflectors, who are less than 1% of the population. And they run them through over millions of times, and it comes out consistent.
Fascinating.
It is so, I can't help but just, because it's so accurate. And everybody I work with, they're like, oh, well, yeah. But just like Christianity, you can do easy Christianity and go to church and do your thing and show up, but still feel frustrated and angry. Where's that joy? Where's everything the scriptures scream at us is available? And that's what most of Christianity in the Western seems to be, is just you go through the motions, but you live this life of got to go to work, got to do these things. And human design is the same, because it takes the faith to trust that you can't let your mind run the show anymore. The little mind, you have to learn to a different authority. You've got to step into the unknown with a different authority.
So many questions.
No.
Yeah. No, it
Ask
seems very fascinating. And I know you asked me for some information about like my birthday and stuff like that. And I'm sure I'm a little excited to get into that. But before we do, right? Because, gosh, it's like, where do I begin? Well, you mentioned that like wanting to express this or communicate it or share it with Christians, right? And as you're talking, I'm like, I could see on the one hand Christians being very skeptical for their reasons, and then other people maybe, from a more scientific background or atheist background, also being skeptical, right? So maybe I guess I'm a little curious, knowing so little. I don't know how much you know about how all this came about, or like how these systems were combined to form this kind of tool, as you put it. And
Mhm.
I guess what would you say to somebody, whether they're Christian or not, that somebody that's skeptical, right? What
Yep.
would you kind of say to them?
Well, one, this is it's not a belief system. It is something that you can actually experiment with and receive feedback
Hmm.
on.
Okay.
It works as you learn your unique design. It gives you the information's free. You put it out there and it comes to you, and it gives you, well, if you will practice these things, you will see change. You will see things start happening in your life, synchronicities. You'll see alignment. It's about coming back into alignment with energetically flowing with the universe, with life, with
Mm-hmm.
your own movement. And so, one, it's a tool you can experiment with to prove it to yourself.
Gotcha.
How it showed up, it's a crazy story. The man who was given this in 1987, um, he was a nihilist. He was just, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. It's horrible. And he's out in the European islands. Um, I forgot the name of the islands, but just living with him and his dog, just going to live out the rest of his life. And he ends up coming back to his shack that he's living in. Doesn't have electricity, but he locked it when he left, and he saw lights on, like under the door. There was a light shining, and he's like, "What's going on?" And he opens the door. His dog falls over dead. There's a light shining. This is his story. You can go on YouTube and listen to it. It's crazy. And there's a light shining there, and he loses all his fluids, and he's in pain. And as soon as the light speaks, the pain goes away. But as soon as it's quiet, the pain comes back. I mean, he just shares this whole story. But over 8 days, he gets this download from this. And afterwards, he starts putting all this together. And it's being scientifically proven what was given was what it is today, and it's still evolving and changing. It's turned, the gene keys is another aspect. People who studied under him and learned from what this voice, he calls it, gave him. And so, yeah, there's going to be skeptics.
Right.
There's going to
Yeah.
be, I mean, I was like, oh, this is crazy. But the accuracy of it, the consistency of it, then I'm like, I think of everything we've received from scripture came this way.
Mm, mm.
Everything. Paul, he's blinded as he's walking, and he's 3 years he's spending time in the desert with and we're all trusting this stuff, but it just further
Yeah.
removed. We don't want to. I just believe it came through him, and um, and for me as a seeker and a lover of God and love and learning, because my experience with Christianity started with love. It didn't come from the scriptures necessarily. It came from a I cried out in a low time, and he showed up, and it showed up. Love showed up and immersed me in it, and so that was the beginning of my pursuit of, okay, then what's the Bible? And I started consuming the scriptures, and then I'd start sharing with people, and they're like, I didn't see that. I didn't see. Well, I have a unique way of looking at life and scripture, and so do you. And we all will look at the
Yeah.
scriptures differently through our own lens of our experience. And that's why it's a living word. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm.
And this has showed up, and it's just given me a tool that I've worked with so many Christian people now that didn't get Jesus. They read it, they know they're supposed to get Jesus, and they're supposed to, but they weren't experiencing it because it wasn't an internal experience of being moved and led
Right.
and hearing, and that you're actually here to experience life, not endure life to get to go to heaven, but we're bringing heaven to earth, man. as I continue working with these people who are Christian who haven't really, a lot of young people, they grew up in the church, they grew up hearing all about it, and they know the Bible verses and they know what they're supposed to believe, but haven't had the experiences that they hear are available, and they just feel kind of trapped. And I can bring them their design and how they're uniquely supposed to respond to the voice of God, to the life that's wanting to lead them. And it just all of a sudden it opens it up. I mean, I worked with someone who had been given the diagnosis of, bipolar, and human design answers that question. It isn't a flaw. It is a design in humanity where people who have what they call as a defined emotional center, energy center, they live their life on an emotional wave. Melancholy's low, they can wake up low and it climbs and it gets high and then it comes back down. There's about half the population that have this energy flow. It's a motor in the body that pushes emotion to help us become emotionally intelligent. But the world and its system doesn't like melancholy. And so we think melancholy or sad or low energy is something's wrong. So we go get our coffee and we gotta, and then, okay, now, and we try to medicate it and keep people right there in the middle. We got to keep people so they can be effective workers amongst the matrix system
Hmm.
of keep the money flow going, but so all these people, and she's like, and so the other side, half the population, they call it an open emotional center, that they magnify the emotion of the defined. So as soon as you get into that person's energy, if you're open, which I am, we call them empaths. All of a sudden you walk in and you feel this person may be low, you'll feel it as depressed. And so you think, oh, this is so heavy in here. And and you take it on when all you're doing is magnifying the energy of the other and taking it on and magnifying it. And this is so consistent. When I told her this, she just started crying. She said, I was told I was broke. Something was wrong with me because I would have lows and then I would climb and I'd have these highs. And now she's married and she's starting a family. And she says, I always ask her, how are you doing with your melancholy time? She says, I love it. That's when I sit and I paint and I write, I get creative because it'll change. It's a motor. It'll be consistent. But if you start judging it and seeing as bad, it'll stretch it out. And pretty soon you can force yourself into depression by the mind's judgment on what your natural body rhythm is.
Mm, okay.
And it consistently tells you the energy flow through your system. But she's a Christian and she's trying to, now she's like, I understand what the spirit's trying to do. It's like an energetic blueprint of how you were born to have spirit move your vehicle. Because this is a vehicle that has a unique system. Tanya, whenever my wife, been married 32 years, she said that after having 12 children, she's like, if I could birth a manual for each one of my kids, I would birth a square book. She's like, and this is the closest we've ever seen to
Mm,
something that can help you understand how to work with, if it's a generator, yes or no questions. Don't ask them what they think. Ask them yes or no questions. And they'll make that sound. You just made that sound. You hear that? You hummed. That's
right.
your sacred motor in agreement with truth. You were like, that felt, And we make generators make sounds from the gut. And it's or uh-huh. It's we're noisy. And because our motors purr, and it's the largest motor in the vehicle, is the sacral. And it wants to communicate up how direction we should go. And now my wife asks me yes or no questions. Do you want this? Mm-mm. Do you want this? Uh-huh. How many eggs do you want? You want one? Mm-mm. Two? Mm-mm. Three? Mm-mm. Four? Mm-hmm. That's that's how we communicate now. And I let it lead me instead of getting my mind, well, two eggs would be too much, or I don't shouldn't have eggs, those are bad for me, or I let my gut lead me. It's my authority now. And there's different authorities for different people. You have a splenic authority, you have an emotional authority, you have a self-projected authority. That's my wife. She has to talk it out to find the answer. And I have to sit and let her just talk it, not give her the answer, just let her talk. And she can hear it in her energy and her voice. And finally, she knows the right answer. It's so helpful when people experiment with it and start seeing the synchronicities in life. All of a
Interesting.
sudden, you have more joy. You have more flow because you're not in resistance. It's like I give the analogy of a Toyota Prius. If it's designed to be a certain thing, but if you bought a Prius thinking it was a 4x4 truck and you treated it like that, it would wear out. You would constantly be in the mechanic. And look at the hospitals. Look at
Yeah. Good analogy.
everybody is trying to do what they're not
I can
because
agree
we've
with that.
been homogenized into a world that believes certain things are valuable and certain things are not. Rest is not, rest is lazy in this part of the world. You got to get up and grind, got to go, you know,
Now
very,
you're speaking my language.
oh, my friend, that's why I love this so much. My life over the last 3 years has just changed dramatically. I literally, when I committed to only doing what lights me up, waiting for things to come to me, the first thing that came to me 2 days after I committed, told my wife, I'm going to do it. This is my experiment. Pickleball was the first thing that came to me. And I was like, God wants me to play. I forgot how to play. I didn't know play was part of life as an adult. No wonder kids are growing up going, I don't want to be that. I don't want to. I've worked with suicidal kids. They don't look at adults and say, life looks good in the future. It looks hard. It looks frustrating. And this is, I got to play. And I play 3, 4 times a week now for 3 hours with old guys that are retired that are happy. And we just get together like kids again, boys, just for the sake of play. It's so healthy and healing
Yeah.
and life giving. So I show up to my wife and my kids with energy. I'm not half full, frustrated, taking care of the family, doing the grind. And one of the things that helped me really solve this Christian um, human design conflict was, and to tell generators or people, you're here to do what lights you up. That's how you know you're in alignment. That's how you know God's leading you, by green pastures and still waters, because there's a life to it. There's an energy to it. And it's the joy of the Lord is our strength. That is the fuel for our vehicles. We were designed to have joy propelling our vehicles. That is, it rejuvenates the cells. It heals us. So take the story of the scriptures. You have the fall, right? You have the separation.
Hmm.
And what was the curse? You will now work by the sweat of your brow to eat.
Right.
So the connection was joy in the garden. They could eat, live forever. Everything was good. So now there's separation. Now you have to work by the sweat of your brow. And all that energy that was keeping your heart and your lungs and everything going just so smoothly is now out there getting things to eat and surviving, toiling. And now you're going to die because this wasn't what you were designed to do. It's the Prius working as a 4x4. You're just,
Mm.
I design you for this, but it's separation has happened. And it's a beautiful story for this point. And then you take what he even takes them into the wilderness, right? He takes the Israelites into the wilderness for one purpose. How do I teach these people how not to be a slave for food? How do I help them not chase food and be afraid they're not going to be taken care of? 40 years, feed you. I'll feed you every day. I'll feed you every day. Watch. It's a simple, and if one generation passes away because they couldn't lose the slavery mindset. And I see it, we're still in slavery mindset today. The curse of the fall is still applicable. And then
Interesting. Yeah.
Jesus shows up, and what does he say? My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Why? Because I've connected you back to joy, the source of life. I and the Father are one, the source. You are one with me as I am one with you. If you will come into this relationship and surrender, offer your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, no longer conforming to the pattern of this world, but being transformed by the renewing that you might know what the will of God is for you. You might, and now it's like, so human design teaches, I wait for things to come to me. Pickleball. My son asked me if I want to go play. Yeah, I go play. Now I've had a call. Can you come do this work for me? Because where I live, I established a reputation that I do construction. My gut is like, most of the time. But I get a call, I passed the number on, but 20 minutes later I get a call and it is for construction. And I end up having this conversation with her because I got an And so I arranged, she's a lady who's wanting a washer and dryer brought upstairs for um out of her basement. She's getting older. And so I said, well, I got an I don't, my mind's trying to figure out why I just told no to one construction job, but this one I get an And so I end up meeting with this lady, and her husband had killed himself a month earlier, and she was alone. And I brought my whole family in. We brought her washer, put in a utility room for her upstairs, and
Mm.
just be friends. And she was just this sweet lady that I was supposed to engage. And now we're friends. And it wasn't just going to be work for money. That's why I've learned to stay out of my head. My mind will try to figure it out. We're trying to go into the unknown. The mind has no context for the unknown. It only can use the information it's been given up to this point. And that's a lot of that's just what it recorded as true, and it's probably not even true. But now we're trying to get into the unknown every moment. We have an authority to do that. And it's simple for a generator. And
Gotcha.
your type is a generator, I already know.
Oh,
So
okay.
you're a
All
generator,
right.
and you're here to follow your gut into life. You can trust it. You're going to second guess it. The mind's going to second guess it because you can't go play pickleball when the bank account says this.
Hmm.
You can't go over there if it's not gonna pay you any money, or you can't go talk to that person. She's too pretty, or she all the stories our mind will do. That's why it takes 7 years, according to the system, to decondition yourself from the mind finally releasing that pattern of control. The mind is not here to lead us. It's here to it's an outer authority. It's here to memorize all this information, and it's here to be able to sit here and talk to you because I've investigated all this information and I applied it and I can share it. But I don't trust it to tell me what to do day to day. And I'm 3.5 years or so in, and it's delicious now. It's so hard, that waiting and trusting something different than what humanity has used. This is generational and genetics. It's the that mindset of grind and work. If you don't work, you don't get. If you don't work hard, we pat each other on the back for hard work. That's anti-scripture. That's my yoke is easy, my burden is light. But get out there and work hard because you got to take care of your family, and you're worse than an infidel. It, it's not. No, we're here to be led by still waters. We're here to be led into green pastures. We're here to live a different life. And when scripture talks about um, labor to enter into my rest, the labor is dying to all these old agreements that have been generationally and genetically given to us of value and worth based on our physical efforts. We have learned to praise ourselves and pride ourselves on living good as slaves. We're going to be higher paid slaves. We're gonna teach our kids to be, if they go to school, they can work their way up the slave ladder. We elect people to give us more work. If you look at the system that has been created from the fall and all the pride that we can take in our hard work, but yet it's killing us.
Mm. Yeah.
It's ruining our relationships. There's three things in the kingdom of heaven that is prosperity. It's health, relationships, and resource. Most people trade health and relationships for resource because that man shall not live on bread alone, but every directive from the mouth of God, every energetic movement, that's when you get an alignment. And then your health is better, your relationships. As soon as the Prius starts doing what it was designed to do, it can last so long. Treat it like a 4x4. You won't be at the mechanic a lot. I have a Prius, and so and I treat it pretty well. It's almost 300,000 miles. The thing still goes,
Wow.
but you, it's just been so significant. My health, my vitality, my relationships. I've had to let go of relationships because I was entering into them incorrectly. I was doing it because I'm here to be nice to everybody, but there's no energy for it. It's like putting puzzles together, and that piece looks really close, but it's not quite. That grass belongs clear over there, but I just a piece of grass, and we shove each other together trying to make relationships work. So many of our relationships are, we don't enter into them correctly, not by our authority. We get in our heads, we're lonely, we're needy, so we enter in and we think we're supposed to get something from this that we're not. And my wife and I, learning 30 years of marriage, and we're 32 now, but 30 years in, 29, most of my marriage, I have felt like she's kind of wanting, energetically pulling away. Like, wake up in the morning at 4:30, she'll crawl out of bed and just try to be by herself. Or it's like trying, it was always our frustration was I felt like I needed something from her that I wasn't getting energetically, emotionally. It just, and so I was always trying to figure out, how do I get this? Well, she's a projector. She's a non-energy type. There's 20% of the population. They're called non-energy types. She needs the energy of the generator to use it. She'll take it and use it, but then it wears her out. She has to go off by herself. So a projector needs time away. But 12 kids, 10 kids are generators, 2 are projectors. So she's been immersed in all this energy. And I would get home or come around her, and I was just another energy. It's just too much. And she would want to, but she could not engage me. And now, oh, we make sure we started sleeping in separate rooms so she could get rid of all this energy. We meet in the morning. It's a brand new relationship. She told me in 30 years that she could count on one hand how many good night's sleep she had. She was exhausted. And now I understand it wasn't. And all these things I was going, am I desirable? All these questions about my value and my worth, because that's what we tend to do as men, get our value and our worth from the woman. Am I how? And I was giving everything I could, and it was impossible. It's like trying to get a Prius to be a 4x4 truck, and she could never do it. She was not designed to be what I was trying to make her to be in the relationship. She could not do it. Now I know who I have, how we work together so well. I give space. She rests. She engages. It's the opposite of everything I was trying to do. And it's healing and making our relationship strong and healthy. I mean, the value of knowing this about somebody as I do my counseling and as my coaching has just revolutionized. I've been doing counseling and coaching for the last 15, 20 years. This has just changed everything because it's like getting a manual for how this person is going to respond. You can actually put a compatibility chart, put 2 charts together and see how their energy reacts together and what lights them up and what doesn't. And it is a huge tool for understanding yourself and getting back to what you came here for.
Do the types kind of get like mixed or crossed over anything? Because when you were talking about your wife, Tanya, she like I can relate to that, wanting to get space, wanting to get some alone time to recharge, a kind of introverted sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. This gets into, so you're a generator, but your profile is what they call I believe it was a 6-2 or a 2-6. Hold on, let me look. You're a 6-2. And so the 6 is what they call a role model. The 2 is a hermit. And the hermit is exactly what you're talking about. It needs to get away and spend time hermiting. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you're not going to be in alignment. That's one. There's 12 different profiles, and you're a 6-2. The role model hermit is what they call it. And so the 2 side of you is in your body. It's your design side, and it's wanting. It has to, for your body to function properly, it has to take time to retreat and go curl up like a hermit crab. Matt, get in your shell. Go do your own thing and spend time by yourself. If you don't, Every two I know, if they don't, they get unhealthy. They get more frustrated with life. They get burned out. You have to take that time. And everyone I've talked to that start doing it, oh, all of a sudden they're owning their own life again. They're not. The hard part is you've made agreements with your energy to all these people, and you most likely were led into most of those agreements out of a need for validation, a need for money, a need for something other than you needing rest and peace so you can function wholly.
Hmm.
That's what we've done as humans. And the value of knowing this stuff can at least give you a foundation to start with, a tool. Okay, I'm going to experiment. If I start spending 10 hours a week walking through the woods, just me, what would that do with my life? How would that change my energy levels, my relationships to my kids, the relationship to how would that, it will change something because you're changing a pattern and you closed a leak, an energy leak, so you have more overflow. Does that resonate?
Yeah. But it's like you said though, we've sort of created these systems that we're all sucked into, um, where we have obligations and things, and it's like the plate, the cup is overflowing with stuff, right? That feels like it's almost impossible to make that kind of space for other
Yeah.
things.
This is what when I that's why this is a difficult, it's to me, it's no different than what Jesus said. Pick up your cross daily, told the rich man, give all you have to the poor. Come on. There's a choice that has to be made. So repentance, or however you want to look at it. Do we believe that there is this life that God has promised us through a surrender of our bodies? I'm no longer running the show, and you will lead me. You
Mhm.
will bring me that abundant life you promised. Do we believe it, or do we have we made it easy and to Christianity simple? Get up every day and do it. Get up every day and do what Spirit leads you to do. Then you will be Christ-like. That's what
Gotcha.
Jesus did. He only did what Father told him to do. But I could ask the majority of people in this part of the world, when that alarm clock goes off, what's telling you to get up? If you had $1 billion in the bank, would you be doing what you're doing today? So who is the leader of your energy? Who gets to dictate that? And I'm not saying it has been a journey of surrender to that voice of money, of my wife's approval. I mean, I share this and people like, you did that? My wife will text me, can you pick something up on the way home? And I'll get an ooh. My mind's saying, yeah, of course I'll pick something up, but my gut says no. So I text because she's aware I'm doing this. I'll say, I got to know, hun. And she's okay. She's learning to trust it. But what happens is I'm not at Aldi's picking up something. I'm at the gas station, or I stop someplace where I'm being led. And then I have this amazing connection with somebody because she can't be my God. Who gets to dictate? Whoever dictates where the vehicle goes moment by moment is the God in the moment. It's back. This is where, to me, this is where the rubber meets the road. And I get it. It's hard. And I'm still, but there's so much grace too. It isn't in or out, right or wrong. It's this growing process of surrender to love that wants to lead you into a thing by green pastures and still water. I keep bringing that because that's the shepherd. And we are designed to be led by life, not by obligation, duty, have tos, sacrifice. Those were all before the cross, we'll call it living. And the only place I haven't done an exhaustive search, the only place I've seen in scripture where it says obligation is we are obligated to surrender to the Spirit or follow the Spirit. That's our obligation as believers. There's that is, but the hard part is all these agreements we've made in our fearful separate life of not really bathing in the unconditional love of God is we're still trying to get that love. We don't believe that we can actually, one of the things in one of the readings of this teachings from the human design is, what would your life look like if you just followed your bliss?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, you can't do that. There's no way you can just follow your bliss. Somebody's going to get hurt. I'm going to hurt some if I do what I love. That's what I believed. And that you start talking to all these people, everybody believes that you have to do the hard things because that's how we show we love. But nobody knows how to love themselves. The great commandment within scriptures, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. We're really good at worshiping God and saying he's amazing and going all out on that. So then we get fired up and we do missions. We go love our neighbors, but we forget that last. Nobody talks about loving yourself. And if that's not there, you can't do any of the other.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, and you teach, as what you do with your work, you're constantly trying to empower these people to know they can set boundaries. They can say no. They can honor their energy. How do they know how to say no and what to say no to? It's something inside them. Does this feel good? Does this feel good to you? And you say you can't do what feels good. Why not? Does that feel good to tell me I can't? I mean, it's scary because it's violating a generational genetic corruption of our DNA and our expression. So we're dealing with thousands of years of humans making choices and decisions, passing it down into our DNA. It's generational curses, whatever you want to call it. In human design, you also find out you have a genetic wound. There's 6 of them, and everyone shows up with one to heal, to help humanity continue becoming one with love. And mine was guilt. The
Mm.
highest expression of my heart is forgiveness. I am here to be a forgiver. So what does that mean? Life is going to bring me all kinds of opportunities to forgive. And I can go look through my life. I've had to learn to forgive myself, to let myself off the hook, to accept the Christ. That was his God so loved the world to forgive us, to let us all back into the garden. We all have access to unconditional love again. It dwells within every soul. It's there. But some people have shame. Some people have oppression. They've been so big. They have all this life and they've been told, no, whoa, 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 you're too much. How many kids have been told you're too much by the adults who've made their lives miserable by not living? So we get as parents, we get upset because the kids are too happy. They're making too much noise and they're just running around with, don't you know, I'm frustrated all the time because I go and use my energy all day long doing something I don't love. And you will grow to learn how to do that too, my child, is what we are teaching. This is
Yeah.
tough. This is hard
Yeah.
teaching. This is powerful, strong reality. I know it. But I am in my profile, I'm a 5-1. The 5 is a heretic teacher. The 1 is an investigator. I dive deep. I bring forth something for humanity to stretch them. I'm here to stretch, but I'm here to do it with compassion because I've been stretched. And I know the fruit of surrendering in small steps, of closing a leak in your energy, saying what you've been agreeing to, just small things. I've been agreeing to that, but it's never felt good. I'm going to stop that. And informing, I encourage everybody as I coach them and teach them that people dive into this. I don't sugarcoat it. This is going to be a journey of new relationships, ending of relationships that you've never really wanted, that never felt like life, but you thought you had to be in. I mean, here's a tough teaching in that. Jesus literally says in scripture, you have to hate mother, father, sister, brother, wife, children, if you want to be my disciple. Because he knew humans put humans before him. And these are the most closest relationships. We have to be so radical in our commitment so that we can love those people. It has to be so radical that we are willing to hate that connection that separates us from God. We'll let wives tell us what we should do versus what we should do, what God is leading us to do. We'll let these relationships. And that's what he meant. We can't have any other voice. There's one voice and it's in us. It's the Spirit of God who is pure love. But we have convinced ourselves it's not worth it. It's too scary to stand up to these gods, these Goliaths in our lives that have been owning our energy, these agreements. And to tell my wife I can't, it's literally made, we are so much better off now than ever.
Hmm.
My whole commitment was whatever you want, hun. That's all you said. Whatever you want, babe. Whatever you want. And now I'm like, oh, but God has put certain desires in my heart that I've been denying because he said he'll give me the desires of my heart if I'll delight myself in him. And now, like, I didn't even know I had desires. I love pickleball. I love to play. And now I'm connecting with all these new people that I play with. And they're like, whoa, I've been using pickleball as medication. Now I can use it as just play. How much life do we use as medication to keep us doing the grind?
Right, right. So one question that comes up among many, I suppose, but so are there ways in which you think human design can be used in negative ways, right? To ask this kind of maybe a tricky question, can they be? Can some of these concepts be misinterpreted or misused? Because it's funny, actually. Just today, I'm on I do writing on a platform called Substack, right? And it's like a social media platform for writers. And pure coincidence, I came across a post somebody made, a random person I don't really know, who had really delved into human design and had eventually had like a negative experience. I think she had said that, you know, she wouldn't do anything unless there was an invitation, and took it to a kind of radical extreme, you know, going into a coffee shop and just not do anything. And even though she wants a coffee kind of thing, right? Just wait for something to happen. And eventually felt like all her kind of autonomy was stripped away, and, you know, kind of felt almost disempowered. So again, and I don't, it's all new to me, right? But I'm just curious what you think of that. Are there ways in which this can be? Because I know on the one hand, you're kind of admitting, you're saying, I do take this stuff to an extreme. I can be radical about it, right? And
Uh,
that is the sometimes the difficult path to take. But are there ways in which this can take a negative turn, or be misinterpreted?
of course, just as any dualistic world we live in, there's always going to be, you can use a hammer as a wonderful tool, or you can kill somebody with it.
Mm-hmm.
You can, this is a tool to help experiment with, to, um, to find a foundation is what I would call it, a new place to start, to honor your own individual role in the body. It can become a god, just like you go to somebody every day to ask them what you should do with your life. They become your god. You can become, I mean, I wrestle with that 3.5 years in. I'm of my experiment trying to get to this. They call it the magical 7 years of the mind finally saying, I give up. I'm reading all the different stuff. Christianity is a beautiful message and a great offering to humanity. Has it been a negative
Oh yeah.
in somebody's life? Have many people lost their unique individual expression through Christianity, letting the pastor or somebody else's interpretation of that verse dictate to them their life? That's why it always comes down to energy never lies. This is a way to learn to discern energy. If if thinking of, whenever you say waiting for the invitation, that's a projector's strategy, waiting for the invitation. If you're going to um, radically sit here and wait for your invitation, you're free to do it and wait for as long as you can. Eventually, energy is going to do something to you. Your body is going to go, you probably need to go to the bathroom. There's your invitation. Energy is going to win. The gates of hell can't prevail against this life pushing movement force. that the eternal purpose of God is bring all things together under one head. These are these verses, these are these truths that, yes, there's people who are going to experiment with this and have, it isn't easy. It's simple. But the hard part is your mind is telling stories that you've learned and grown up with of your dad and your dad's dad and your dad's dad's dad and your mom's and your all these stories been lived out. You woke up, you're born here, and you were given enemies, and Russia's your enemy, and all these, and you're around people who are afraid of all these. And so you're given all these stories. And what we're trying to do is get back to, yeah, but what am I amongst all of this? This is what it means to be born again. I have a new life. What does this mean? And how do I know? How do I know I'm being led by God? How do I know? And the energy, that's why I love joy, the fruit of the Spirit. How do you know you're being led by the Spirit of God? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, meekness, self-control. How do you know the flesh is still running your life? Frustration, anger, bitter, guile, all the list of the things that we are, the body is being pushed to do things that it wasn't designed to do. It's out of alignment with the yoke of Christ.
Yeah, so I think that's the consistent question that keeps coming up in my mind, and as you're talking about it is, right, how do you discern that energy? And what you're saying is related to like the fruit of the Spirit and those kind of positive feelings. So like earlier, right, one thing you had said was, I'm going to follow this and I'm not necessarily going to work. If we lose the house, then fine, right? So in that situation, I mean, maybe for you, I'm curious, like how you discern that, because I could see somebody else maybe being in that situation. It's a common one, right? It's like, oh, let's say a hypothetical example. Somebody wants to be an artist. They want to paint, right? And that's their thing. And but now they're currently working a job that's okay. It pays the bills, right? But they're not too crazy about it. I mean, probably a super sort of relatively common scenario, and so, well, okay, maybe they think about joy when they think about painting, but also when they think about just quitting their jobs, right? And not having any financial blanket or plan. Is that an irresponsible decision? Is that the fear that comes up? I mean, is that just a preconditioned fear, or is that the Spirit saying also, or whatever, kind of saying, well, that's not actually, like it feels like it's kind of tricky to discern that and, not
that
be
is
irresponsible, especially if like that person has kids and people depending on them and stuff like that, right?
you are telling the story of humanity. And when you think about painting, well, has the opportunity presented itself? One, when we're living our lives daily, and like as generators, our flashing light on our dashboard on our vehicle when it's out of alignment or things are not, is frustration. If our frustrated light is on a lot and we keep going, what's going to happen? If your oil light's on your car and you keep going, you're going to end up being forced to rest.
Yeah.
You're going to end up being forced to stop. That's happening all over. I think we can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So when it's frustrating and it won't stop, if you stop and you wait, this is where wait on the Lord. He'll strengthen your heart. This is about believing in a different rhythm, a different kingdom, a different creative flow. Like I expected work. Believe me, I sat 4 months playing pickleball and studying human design and very little opportunity for money. It would come in, just a little here. It was always enough, but it wasn't what most people would feel is comfortable
Mm-hmm.
because you have to wait. And then I found out, a leaf falling from a tree takes so long to fall. This is getting closer to God's creative rhythm. But humanity has created a system that drive, go, get, it's a squirrel in a cage, moving, trying to save up enough. We have a wealth mentality of as soon as we have enough, then I'll get to go do.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't the way God, creation works. You go do and it supports you from behind. That's what faith is, being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. When you're being moved to do something because your heart's in it, it's something you love, You have to trust. Oh, that's my Father moving me to go do this. He'll take care of me. And he does. And it does. It all does. The one. It's the way it works. But we are literally fighting against generational conditioning that says that won't work. You have to work by the sweat of your brow. You have to go out there and do that. The curse is still active in our minds, in our genetics. Jesus has freed us from the curse. That's what he said. New creation. I've made the playground safe. Go play, kids. That's that's what we believe scripture tells us, right? That's the work of the cross. But yet in our actual lives, in our minds, and our bodies, memory, the cellular memory, the DNA, the genetics, we still believe we have to work to survive. We have to work hard. The harder you work, and that it's I had to test it. That's all this is. You have to experiment with it. Not everybody's going to do this. This is the guy that came up with this. He says, "Oh, all I got to do, 70% of the population are generators. And if they are doing what they love, they are satisfied and their energy's flowing. It will heal the earth if generators will do what they love, do what lights them up, because their life force being would just be so overflowing. It'd just be amazing things. Projectors come along and they magnify the energy of the generators. 20% of the population magnifying joy. Oh man, he just saw this vision. That's what was given him. If we were all in alignment, doing what we were designed to do, and how the system would completely change. And he's like, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to work with generators. I'm going to get all generators doing what they love. And he says, he leans in, he says, do you know how effing hard it is to get a generator to do what he loves?
Yeah.
That's the thing. We are conditioned to believe we can't do what we love. Why is that? That's the question. Why do we believe that we as an individual can't do what we love, or it's going to hurt somebody?
Well, I think we look, and I think my guess is that, and maybe this is me talking too from my own perspective or question about this, is like, well, we see the bad things that did happen to other people and see that as evidence, right? The people who lost everything, the people who are homeless on the street, the people who, just got in a bad way for making maybe irresponsible decisions, or, deciding to chase a dream and it didn't work out, or they started a business and it went bankrupt, and we hear the stories, right? I mean, just being devil's advocate.
Well, definitely. But when we watch people live their lives, we are still homogenized in our thinking, not individualized. I am not here and designed to do the same work you are. I can sit for hours with somebody, 5 hours. I've sat with 5 hours in a coffee shop counseling, and I'm flying. My joy is overflowing. Somebody else would be sitting there miserable, wanting to figure out how to escape this thing. This is my unique thing that I've been led in, because, and now I don't even look for clients. They come to me. I don't force things. I wait for people. You reached out to me and I went, uh-huh. My gut rose and I got excited. And this is how I know God is in this. This is a divine moment. You're my brother. You've always been my brother. Every time we've never had light conversations.
Heck yeah, man.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
And it's a unique relationship. It's one of the puzzle pieces that fits well together. And it doesn't mean that if somebody comes in and it doesn't feel right, that they're a bad puzzle piece. They're just not mine. They don't align. It's the fractal lining. It doesn't fit. And it's okay. It's allowed me to show so much grace, because now I understand the uniqueness. But what they call human design is the science of differentiation. This is a blueprint of the energetics of an individual cell in the body of humanity.
Mm.
And it can help you understand uniquely. It'll just, you start reading it, it'll resonate. It becomes undeniable when you start working with it. It proves itself as you work with it. That's why, I mean, I had all the same questions. I mean, I started reading these books. Why does it feel so good? The idea of living my life doing what I love. And then it says, in your shadow self, you're going to say it's impossible and that your experience is it's going to hurt somebody. And it's exactly the truth. Doing what I love is going to hurt somebody. But it turns out what I love is I love to play. And then I love to bring my kids into play. I've got 12 kids. Like I said, I got two of them bought into this. I'll say not bought into it. I've kept teaching them and showing them, telling them that just do what you love. I don't want you tell your kids you want them to do what they love when they're older, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. We tell each other this, but when people start actually doing it and they ask you for your energy and you say no, well, then it's a problem. And then you can say, you're selfish for not giving me your energy. The person asking for somebody's energy when they don't have it tells the person who doesn't have it they're selfish. That's where we've we've done. We expect things of people who don't have energy. It's like telling a Prius, you're screwed up for not being a 4x4 truck. Something's wrong with you. This is what we've done to each other. We demand energy from somebody that they don't really have, and it costs them their health. That is not unconditional love. That's leveraged. And when we start truly freeing ourselves, showing humanity that, watch me as I love myself with you. Yeah, when I tell you no, trust it doesn't mean anything personal. I just don't have energy for that right now. But 2 hours later, oh, I do. There's a timing. It doesn't mean I'll never do it. It just means, I don't know the plan. I'm trying to figure out what the universe or God's trying to do with everything. He's trying to bring everything back together so we can be one again. And we can actually flow in intimacy and vulnerability and honesty. But when somebody asks for my energy and I don't want to do it, it's not honest to say I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's their job to realign. When that energy is no longer available, what it does, it causes the whole universe to have to shift. Ooh, a generator didn't give his energy away. What happens? Oh, somebody else might step in who loves doing that. Ooh, it might come into alignment. You have to go find somebody else because I'm no longer available for that. It works. I've seen this over and over now.
Well, yeah, Dave. I mean, you have given me a lot to think about, and it's always a pleasure and fascinating to listen to you speak and to hear your perspectives. Yeah, so, like I said, I think we're basically kind of at our time for today, and but thank you so much, for joining me here in conversation, for sharing these ideas. And perhaps, before we say goodbye, if you could share with our listeners a couple of things, if they do, and I include myself in this, if they do want to learn more about their chart and their design type, where do we go to discover that information, and then beyond that as well, where people can find you specifically. Contact or anything you're working on that you want to let people know about, please do so.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. Thanks. It's always so fun to visit with you. You're an open-hearted and open-minded person. And I know a lot of what I share can seem radical and extreme at times, but we kind of live in a time when we really need to
That's fair.
be really learning how to make decisions for ourselves, because we don't know what truth is anymore. You try to find news, and now I know we need to know from within ourselves for our own leading. That's what how we can know we're being led uniquely on our own for ourselves. Like that's what spirit wants to do, is to move us where we need to be, so we know where we're supposed to be at the right time and with the right people. That's how huge this is to me. But I know it's not simple and easy. But yes, if anybody wants more information on human design, you can go to my Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Is Humans by Design. David Roper and Tanya Roper, my wife and I do this together. You can direct message there. Look at all my information. I put out teaching almost every day and encouragements to help people find human design, learn their design, and learn how to follow walk in their own unique truths for themselves. Um, yeah, I would love to work with anybody. I do weekly coaching with people for $60 a week, or I'll do a one-time reading over their chart and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours with somebody for $150. That's what I offer right now, and I just love sharing what I've grown to love and a great companion with my walk with Christ.
Thank you so much, Dave. Yeah, yeah, love to have you on the podcast. Great to reconnect as always. Always a pleasure to see you, talk with you. Yeah, and say hello, give my love to everybody, all our people that we have in common, and yeah, take care until next time.